from Rachel Ann's Country Clips Pet Grooming. Today, all of our information is coming to you from the groomers who care and share. So, today we are going to do a video, and it is going to be the first part one of a 3-series video, detecting health problems in your pet. And this is for groomers and also for pet parents. So hang on, hold tight, and we'll be right back. So we are going to be going over how to detect health problems in your pet, and today's video is going to be based off of if you're a pet groomer, when the pet walks into your spa and you're looking at the pet. So it's the overall pet in a glance. So this would also be if the pet parent's at home, just looking at your dog from a distance up close, just in a glance, what you're going to see in the pet. Today we are bummed out because Leah, we were going to have Leah here.
She's not going to be able
unavailable.
to make it.
So we're going to condense things because I get a little crazy.
What I have to do is I have to kick her in the leg under the table.
She's going to give me a kick.
If she starts to ramble too much.
But I'm very passionate about this information, and I want all pet parents to know how to detect things that could be going wrong in your pet. And I want to spread the word to all groomers, whether you've been grooming for a while and you don't know, or whether you're a new groomer starting out, and we can give you this information. It would be very helpful for you and all of your clients. So we are basing these videos off of my almost 20 years experience, grooming and vet tech background.
And my 7.
I say 11 because she was like born at the pet spa, like, and then she lived there, and she grew up there. No? She doesn't like when I do that. Anyway, so you kind of were born in the pet spa.
No,
almost.
Not really.
Almost.
I was like sleeping on your back the first 3
Yeah,
years.
you were. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, well, then she wasn't learning. I think she was learning the whole time because her little tiny wee little baby, barely open baby eyes, they were watching every way that I scissored. Because
I was on your back.
I know, but when you were old enough to like put scissors in your hand,
Right, at 3.
you were like holding them the right way. See, you were watching the whole time. So 11 years
10
of experience. All right, so we're going to get serious and we're going to move on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you an outline of what I put together for everyone to understand. I did get a little bit lost in weight because I am a huge, how do I explain it? Weight is a huge issue to me.
It's very important to groomers.
Overweight dogs, underweight dogs, but there's more overweight dogs. So I'm going to go on quite a bit about weight and then the other things that you can see. So like when the pet walks in, you're going to see how much they weigh. Are they overweight? Are they underweight? Are they a healthy weight? And then under the weight, if they're overweight, we're going to be looking at joint and bone issues and pain that they can have, lung issues, which can also cause heart issues, trachea issues because they're overweight. They're a slight higher risk under anesthesia, but they're way more, it's not a risk, but it takes longer for them to recuperate from anesthesia, and it's also a longer recovery time if they're overweight. Diabetes and sores and skin issues. So that would be in the overweight pets. And then in the underweight pets, they tend to have a compromised immune system, dull and flaky, itchy, red skin, decreased overall quality of life, and in severe cases, which I have probably only seen one in the pet spa in almost 20 years, severe cases where they're just so skinny for so long that they have some organ issues and stuff like that. So that would be the overweight, the underweight, and then we're going to move forward with, you're going to talk about the gait of the dog, and then we'll talk about the skin and the coat, the mats and the knots, the overall mood of the dog, and then whether they're coughing, sneezing. Hi. Hi, Lois. Say hi to Summer. And then we will talk about coughing, sneezing. What else? I think that's it, right? Coughing, sneezing, eyes watering, that kind of stuff. So those are all the things that we sat down and came up with, that if you just look at the dog at an overall glance, you can pick these things out. So we'll get started with the weight. Everybody bear with me here, and I will keep moving forward. Okay, so there's a great article that we're going to link in our YouTube page at the bottom, and it is on pain in the joints and the bones and inflammation. It explains a whole lot of things. So dogs that can be overweight or that are overweight, they tend to have pain, and it can come from inflammation. It can come from arthritis, the joints, the bones, all that extra weight on them that they're carrying around, right? And now you've seen it in the grooming shop. Mm-hmm. What's it like? It's like when we have to groom an overweight pet.
It's kind of upsetting to see almost, because these dogs come in and they can barely stand throughout the grooming.
Some of them can barely stand.
Some of them are all right, and you know, we just give them lots of breaks, but some can barely stand, and it's kind of, you know, it hurts us to see that they're feeling that way. And we do our best to cater to them. We do our best to cater to them and make them as comfortable as possible. But like I said, and sometimes
it's hard. It's hard because that would pretty much carry us into our next topic. Lung, heart, and trachea issues. Right. So in the overweight pets, when they come in for a grooming, they're panting a lot of times with their lungs. If they're really overweight, the fat is all around their body and they can't expand their lungs as much as they should be able to normally. So then what happens is their body needs more oxygen because they're not expanding their lungs enough, and then they start panting and panting and panting and panting. They tend to overheat easier, right? And it's very difficult for them. And all of that extra panting and extra lung activity, or like having to breathe like that, also affects their heart, right? So all of those things are obviously not good for the groomer. There's a whole bunch of things that groomers can do to help. Number one is inform the client. Why do we need to inform the client? Shouldn't the client just know that their dog is overweight?
So about that, owners tend to not really notice that there might be an issue with their dog because they're with them daily.
Every day.
So every single day. So their dog may change just a little every single day, and they're not going to notice it because they see them so often. So when you have somebody that doesn't see them very often and saw them a year ago and is like, wow, this dog really gained weight, or there's something wrong with that dog's leg, compared to somebody that sees them so often, obviously the person that doesn't see them often is going to see the difference in the dog.
Yeah, the owners, so, I mean, we don't even see some stuff in our dogs because we see them every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really just need to inform the owners, because they're not going to always notice because they're with their dogs every day.
Don't get frustrated. It's no one. It just be
do
open
your
and
part.
honest.
Just do your part by telling
and let
them
people know.
and taking care of the dog as best as possible.
Yeah, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put a chart up for you, because I found a really great website. It's an article that has, I think they even have a video on it, but I absolutely love this chart of body weight composition of the dogs. So you can see this chart, and this chart shows you right slap in the center is a normal weight dog, and then you can see the obese dog at 5 and the super underweight dog at 1, I think. Is that, I can't see the numbers. Yeah. So even a lot of people tend to think that number 3 is too thin. Look at that waist. Can everybody see number 3? That's normal. That's ideal. Arsenic is a number 4. Mama is a number 3. Some dogs tend to put weight on easier than others. So you really have to just be mindful. So if anybody wants to really check that chart out, you can go to the website. We're going to have that linked in our YouTube page for you, and you can check that out. And that will give you a really good idea. They also explain on that website how to feel your pet. Feeling their ribs move is good. Like, you want some meat there, but feel their ribs, but you don't want any bone showing. Like, you don't want their backbone showing. And they explain that all on the website. So I really, really like that. And they do support, I think they're like for raw food or something. I'm not even going to get onto that topic. Gwendolyn's about to kick me. I can see it in her face. Because the whole entire diet is a whole nother thing that we can talk about and make that a whole hour-long video just on diet. But raw is not the reason why I like that site. It's that all the charts. And then there's another graph, or there's a chart below that tells all of the different breeds. So you can go by breed of what breed of dog you have and approximately what weight that the dog should be. The body composition and the actual size of the dog is going to make a difference in the different weight, but they have average weights of different breeds. So that's it for the chart that we have on the body weight. And we'll move on to, we talked about the lung and heart. Oh, the trachea. Okay. You know about this. You've heard dogs do it, and it's just absolutely terrifying. So if any of you have a dog that gets a collapsed trachea, you know exactly what we're talking about. For those groomers that are starting out that aren't sure of what that is, for clients that don't know what that is, obesity in dogs can cause this to happen. It can be more likely in dogs that are overweight. Smaller breed dogs tend to really have an issue with it. So what we're going to...
Dogs with pushed-in faces.
Yeah, they have trouble just breathing in general. What we're going to do is put up a little, it's the actual trachea, like they went down the mouth to show you what it looks like. And this is going to be a partial collapsed trachea so that you can see what it looks like when it's partially collapsed. So here's a partially collapsed trachea. That should be a nice round circle, okay? And that is partially collapsed. So this can be very dangerous, because if the dog winds up having a fully collapsed trachea, then dogs can die from that. But just because they have a collapsed trachea, we know tons and tons of dogs that have collapsed tracheas that have perfectly long, normal, healthy lives. You just have to do a whole bunch of things different. So if you're an owner that has a dog that has a collapsed trachea, you'll have a harness on the dog. And the number one thing, if your dog is diagnosed with a collapsed trachea, is that you inform your groomer, your veterinarian, if you go to a new vet, anywhere your boarding facility, right? Anywhere you take the dog, they must know that. And then you always have your dog on a harness, never on a collar. Nothing around their neck. Okay, so that's for collapsed trachea. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play a sound bit for you. And all of this is going to be linked below on our YouTube page, but we're going to play a sound bit for you so that you can actually hear what it sounds like for like a dog that is having, when it collapses part way and they're breathing, because it's a very distinct sound. It sounds almost like a goose. So we'll play that now. Okay, so you all heard that. Some of you will be familiar, some of you won't. It's not a sound that a groomer ever wants to hear. So what do we do in the grooming shop to prevent that?
Okay, So there are many things we can do, and one of the most important is you may have a lead that goes around their neck and then hooks up onto the table. So what you can do is you can take that lead and wrap it around their shoulder. And if there may be more of a dog that's not going to cooperate, whether it's that they are aggressive or that they are super excited, or even if they are just an obese, bigger dog, we put two straps around them, 2 loops, one around one shoulder and then one around the other shoulder. And you just take as much precaution as you can, remembering to never put any pressure on their throat. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly right. Everything goes around their shoulders, and then you can also we use back straps to secure them. Like if they're a little bit more wild, it's a little easier to get out of the shoulder strap. So sometimes we'll shoulder strap them this way, shoulder strap them this way, and loop them up on the butt. Like we have all kinds of ways. But then they stay comfortable and safe. And you do that in the tub, on the table, bathing, blow drying, grooming, whatever. We have a couple questions that we're going to really quick answer here.
So somebody asked, Deborah, will a trachea collapse from a dog pulling on a leash with a collar?
It absolutely can if the dog has an issue. Right. But if the dog doesn't have an issue and they're one of those crazy strong big dogs and they're pulling and pulling and pulling, they're usually okay. But that can happen.
But if your dog does have a collapsed
if there's an issue, then it can happen.
Then you should. Yeah.
And then babies' feet are better. Mwah. I love you guys. And I think baby looks pretty good. Hey, that's a funny question. Bulldogs are usually always overweight, right? Like I don't know a really, we've only known a couple like thinner ones, but they both look really good. Oliver's could lose a little bit, but baby looks pretty good. They're both pretty decent. Oliver maybe a tiny bit. And then, okay, hi to everybody that we missed. Okay, so moving on. One thing I just want to mention to pet parents is that there is a slightly higher risk under anesthesia for pets that are overweight, and it's not even the slighter risk that is, it's riskier for anesthesia as much as it is the recovery time. So the recovery just from the anesthesia alone is longer and harder on the dog's body because of all that extra fat. And then the recovery time from a surgery, depending on what kind of surgery your pet is having, can be it can be pretty bad depending on what kind of surgery it is. So there's a fantastic article that was written by a girlfriend, AJ, of mine. I just so happened to find it while I was like looking up all sorts of stuff to be able to put links below in our YouTube page. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my girlfriend AJ like helped write this. And it's a really good article kind of explaining how, or the risk and like how you should like talk to your vet. Should I lose weight on my pet now prior to surgery, or should I wait and lose the weight after the surgery? So there are so many, there's so many variables that you're just gonna have to discuss that with your pet. Obviously, if it's an emergency surgery and something needs to be done, you have to have the surgery done right away. But if it is a surgery that is, if it's a surgery that, you don't have to get done immediately, but it's really important you get it done, then you would discuss with your vet whether or not you would lose the weight prior to the surgery or after. If you're going to do some kind of hip or knee surgery, that pet then has to bear all of their weight on the other leg for many months. So if that's the case, then you really have to decide, is it better to take the weight off ahead of time so they have less weight on the other knee or hip, because then that could cause an issue there. So that's a great article. Check that out, guys. And then diabetes. we have an article, and I gotta look here. There is an article that is talking about, it's kind of up for debate. Some are saying that obesity is a significant factor in diabetes, which I totally believe, and some places are saying it's not so much, but from what I have researched and found and what I have seen, I do believe it is. And just keeping the weight off, or not allowing the weight to get on the pet is probably your best bet. Exercise, a good healthy diet, and that's the best for diabetes. So there are going to be pets that are going to become diabetic. I know that female dogs are 2 times more likely to become diabetic than males, and it's like on the rise. More and more pets are becoming diabetic. So that's just something to watch out for, because diabetes can cause cataracts. Cataracts can make the dog go blind eventually. This can shorten their life, so you want to keep them as healthy as possible. And then there's some times when the pet is overweight, they can get sores, right? It's like pressure sores from laying, or they'll get little sore spots from like the side that they lay on, and then their skin. There can be big flaps or folds of skin, and inside of that, it tends to stay like moist. It can get infected, it stinks, it's sore, it's red, they lose hair. The private parts on the girls, I don't want to get too graphic, but they go pee, and then it doesn't all get dry, and then they have a lot of chunk or fat around there, and then it's closed. So then that gets, the urine kind of like can burn the skin. So there's a whole lot of reasons why we should try to keep their weight down for skin issues also. Okay, so that was my rant on overweight dogs. And it just seems like the overweight dogs, there are many reasons that...
And she could keep going.
I know, okay, so there are many reasons that they become overweight besides just overfeeding. But I feel like there's so many reasons why, so many problems that overweight causes in the pet. Just the grooming alone is so challenging. I don't care. I'll work all day long on a dog. I'm super strong, but it's hard for us to watch the pet struggle. And I'm not talking, oh, we, make them stand there for an hour and struggle. We would never do that. We give them breaks. We let them sit. We let them lay. We let them stand. We have to do different things with them. So when we're doing that, it doesn't matter how many breaks we give, how much water we give, how many walks we take to let them go to the bathroom. It doesn't matter what we do to help make that pet feel better when they're significantly overweight. It's just difficult to get through the grooming for the dog. So I'm going to stop there, and we'll move on to underweight pets. Okay. Who's being naughty? Summer's being naughty. Oh, and baby, she's risk if she ever needs surgery, so no more surgery. Yeah. I totally see that and understand, Mary. Okay, so the underweight pet has a compromised immune system, can have a compromised immune system. They usually will. It can be from being malnourished if they're underweight. There's a whole bunch of reasons, but when they're really, really too thin, they can have, they usually have a compromised immune system. So what is one of the things that we see in a compromised immune system? The little cigar-shaped guys. Demodex mange. So when you see the SPCA cases and all these dogs that have the skin that's falling off and they're really, really, really skinny and their skin looks horrible, I believe it's usually Demodex. Now, this is a photo of a Demodex. They call it Demodectic mange. Demodex mange. It is not contagious. This is not sarcoptic
right.
mange. That's a totally different bug. This
So-
little mite,
This little mite, it occurs on every single dog throughout the hair follicles. And what happens is when the dog is not getting enough nutrients or the body is just becoming a little bit more weak, the bugs kind of like take over the body, and they're like, okay,
party,
because
party
you're
in the
too weak now,
house.
then I'm just gonna like take over everything.
Yep.
So that obviously causes lots of issues like loss of hair and all those skin problems, and that's what it is. So it is not contagious, like she said. It's just because the dog's immune system is very weak.
It looks horrible.
Yeah,
it looks absolutely
awful.
horrible. There's a localized and a generalized. The localized is usually just on the eyes, the face, and a couple spots. And then the generalized is all over. I actually had a pit bull years and years and years ago with generalized. It's a nightmare. For groomers, you have to know exactly what you're doing, exactly what has to be done, and exactly how to get rid of the product if you're ever going to consider taking a dog in for a client that's going to need shampoos, dips, because if it's generalized, I'm speaking, then you need to know what you're doing, and don't do it if you don't know, because the dips are toxic to humans, they're toxic to dogs, they're toxic to the environment, so you have to know how to handle that. But usually the localized is just a topical, and then both times they would just boost their immune system, get them full of really good vitamins and healthy, and get them, the immune system boosted and get the dog to the correct weight. So that's it for Demodex. Underweight dogs can have a dull, flaky, itchy, red coat, right? Overall appearance can look like that. So if you see a dog like that and they're super underweight, it could just be from being underweight, and that would be from being malnourished. So they're not getting the right vitamins and nutrients into their coat and their skin, and it's causing some issues. Then basically, if the dog's too skinny, too long, malnourished, anything like that, they will have not a great quality of life, obviously. They'll probably not live as long, and in some very severe cases, and I'm talking severe cases, they can have organ damage if they were too thin, malnourished for too long. But dogs are pretty strong, and they bounce back really good, and they're very forgiving, loving creatures. Oh God, I just love them so much. They're so awesome. So now, we're going to go over the last few things, our categories for looking at the dog now that we did overweight and underweight, right?
Yeah,
we got through it.
those
She
things
didn't kick
done.
me at all. So the gait. Gwendolyn was going to speak to us about their gait. Oh, you know what? Can I do one thing and cut you off, please?
Yes.
We had, and I think that this is very important for the pet parents and for groomers. I went through the diabetic pet too fast, but we do have a little blurb on what to look for in the diabetic pet, like how to know whether your pet may be diabetic or not. So here it is, and we'll have the information. There's the AVMA wrote this whole really nice thing that I linked to the bottom of our YouTube page. And if Gwendolyn wants to go over that, this is kind of the signs and symptoms of a diabetic pet.
Right. So some of the signs are excessive water drinking, increased urination, weight loss, even though there may be increased appetite, decreased appetite, cloudy eyes, especially in dogs, and a chronic or reoccurring infections, not affections. So what you can do as the stylist, if the owner comes in because they're not going to necessarily know these factors, that these may be symptoms or anything like that. And like we said before, the owner is with this dog daily, like so often. So they may not even notice.
But they may say something
Right,
without even thinking
right.
about it.
So they may say something like, oh, Fluffy has been drinking lots and lots of water and urinating a lot, and I think his eyes seem a little cloudy. Is that weird? And you'll know right away, like, those are some symptoms that.
Now, would you tell them? You think their dog's diabetic?
Now, here's the thing. You would not tell the owner that sounds like your dog is diabetic, but you would say, I think that you should get your dog checked by a veterinarian.
Let them know that.
Because you cannot diagnose, and we have said this like so many times, but you cannot diagnose anything on a dog unless you're a veterinarian.
But definitely tell them, go to the vet with this list of things that is happening that you've been noticing. And then I totally was going to say one more thing about the weight. Okay.
The weight.
Right. We didn't go over like causes. There could be many reasons that a pet is overweight. And I almost forgot to say that too. So forgive me. I'm a little a mess with the live feed tonight. Okay. So overeating is obvious, right? Inactivity, where they're not active enough, is obvious. Here's one that I love. This one. This is for overweight pets or underweight pets. And we have known multiple families that this has happened to, especially fluffy dogs. They're fluffy. They need a haircut. They come in, we shave them because they need to be shaved. And one is like so skinny it's scary, and the other one's fat. Why is that? Somebody's stealing somebody's food. And this has happened, I can't tell you how many times. One of the dogs is eating the other dog's food. So then what the owners do is they go home and separate the dogs when they feed them, and it's fixed. But owners may not even notice. They may have a family of 5 kids. They may have, 3 jobs, and they may just put the bowls down, go do what they have to do, and not watch the dogs eat. And then boom, somebody's really skinny and somebody's really fat. So it can be a thing with who's eating whose food, right? Oh, that's so sad. And then dogs that are overweight, underlying issues could be hypothyroidism, and that is usually more common in dogs and less common in cats. Hypo is when they're heavier. Everyone would think that cats are going to be hypothyroid, meaning heavy, but it's just because they're laying around being lazy. They actually more commonly have hyperthyroidism. But hypothyroidism is more common in dogs, and that can be a factor. Cushing's, that can be an issue. I wanted to go into all of this stuff in detail, but this is already too long, so I'm just going to run through them. I have actually seen many pets that have had internal tumors or masses that have gotten large and actually made them heavier and bigger. Arthritis can cause obesity or overweight, which is like, oh, that's horrible because the pet has arthritis, so they don't want to walk a lot. And then they don't want to walk a lot, so they get heavier. So that's kind of a situation, which can be worked out. But so those are just a few. There's many, many more underlying issues that can cause the obesity. And then underlying issues that can cause the pet to be underweight can be that the dog's malnourished. They can be, a lot of people like to make their own food now. And unless you've researched it in great detail and know exactly what your pets are getting, they can become malnourished just from eating the wrong homemade diets. But I know a lot of clients that do homemade diets that are super successful too. So that's not a bad thing, you just have to do it the right way. Diseases can cause the dog to be skinny, underweight, malnourished. A really low quality food, that can be another thing. We already discussed the other pet eating their foods. Thieves, they're thieves. Somebody's a thief at home. And then teeth, right? Teeth is a huge thing. because we will notice this as pet groomers, and this is a great thing for pet groomers to realize, is if you have a dog forever and they have no problem with you touching and holding their face and grooming their face, and then all of a sudden they're freaking out because you go like this to their chin, they have sore teeth or something in their mouth that hurts. So, you know, it could be anything from just bad teeth, mouth cancer, sores, bad gums, so much stuff within their mouth. So if there's an issue, they can often stop eating and don't want to eat as much when that happens, and they can lose weight that way. Hyperthyroidism is really not common in dogs, and when they do get it, it's pretty severe, but that is also a possibility. Addison's disease, gastrointestinal problems like IBD, parasites, and cancer. So, and that's not it. There's so many more. So those are reasons why a dog might be underweight. And I'm seriously going to stop now and let you talk about
The gait.
the gait.
So, the gait is basically how the dog walks. It's their legs and how their system is walking. So,
How their system is walking.
Okay. So, like I've said pretty much every time I've talked, the owner may not realize that the dog has a issue with their gait because they're with them every single day.
Unless
And-
it's like a luxating patella
Right,
or
unless
something.
it's something more severe. But things like minor limping or trouble walking in general,
Or getting up and down.
or
just
getting up
aging.
and down, those things are kind of hard to notice if they're minor and not severe, and if you're with that dog every day. So if you, as an owner, if you do think, I think Fluffy is having a little bit of a hard time getting up and down, maybe have somebody that doesn't see that dog very often and come, or ask your groomer if they've noticed anything.
And that's the
And-
groomer's place, is really, if you're a new groomer starting out, if you're a groomer who hasn't filled your head with tons of informational things on different medical issues and stuff like that, it's time to do it. We really want to help the industry have more knowledge and get better and better. And we are the pet's spokesperson when they come to us. Like, we know them, we know their personality, we know their limp, we know their everything about them. So when we see them over and over, take notes, record everything, and keep that with every dog that comes in, every red spot or lump and bump on each dog, so that we can always tell the owners what has changed, right? So there's tons of different things as far as the gait. I think you pretty much covered everything really well. Okay. Oh, I mean, we could go into a little detail for groomers about caring for dogs with legs that are hurt.
Caring for dogs that have legs.
Like how we
that are-
care for dogs that have hurt legs
Uh-huh.
or have trouble walking, limping, whatever the issue is. First off, we know exactly what it is because we have the owner find out and have it diagnosed, so we know what we're dealing with. Most, 90% of owners already know exactly what it is. And then once we know what it is, then we know how to handle it.
Correct.
So it will depend on how we put a dog on and off a table, clip their nails. Everything will depend on what the issue is with the dog. And that's also, we didn't really go over like putting dogs on and off the table, but dogs with legs that are bad, overweight dogs, how do we put them on and off the table safely?
We use multiple people. We have multiple people.
The table all the way to the
table
floor.
all the way to the floor, multiple people, and we like to have the belly band that's really comfortable and it supports them, and 2 to 3 people depending on the dog's size and their condition. And
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
lift! And they literally only go this high and they're on
Yeah.
the table, and there's 2 to 3 people, but it's Leah, who's not here, me, and Gwendolyn. So, Good thing she's been trying to get some muscles going there. But no, you're a big help. So that's it. And then because then dogs with any kind of health issue, but especially like bad legs, hips, or overweight, how do we groom them? Like, how do we do the whole process? Either super fast, where we use multiple people through the whole process. And this totally depends on the individual dog.
Right. So if the dog is not comfortable with having 2 blow dryers on it, then
Perfect example. Then you wouldn't do that.
You can't do that. So it, like she just said, it really depends on the
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they are good with that and you need to get them done, then you get them done as fast as possible with multiple people. That's how we've done it forever. It works great for us. And if they need breaks and they can't handle that, then we do 1 person or 2 people while working, but then many, many, many breaks where they rest and they're on a blanket laying, relaxing. And then they could, some of them be there all day and they get water, they get walked. Snacks, if they're there all day, we'll tell the owners to bring snacks. We don't give snacks, but we'll tell the owners to bring snacks. So that is how we handle dogs with issues with their gait. Now, skin and coat issues. So this is the dog walks in and you can see skin and coat issues, or you're at home and you start noticing skin and coat issues. Here is the thing. There are a million reasons why dogs have skin and coat issues. All right? Many of them are allergies. We have found more environmental allergies than we have food allergies in pets from our clients that have gone to a licensed dermatologist who's a specialist who specializes in skin and coat. We refer people, if there is a pet with skin and coat issues, we refer people or recommend them to a dermatologist because they're going to get to the bottom and find out what is going on. So it really depends on what is going on. There are parasites, there are skin infections, there are hormone issues, there are diseases, there are so many things that can cause issues with a dog's skin that we as groomers cannot even guess. You as clients should not even guess. You can write down what issues you're seeing on your pet's skin and coat, keep it documented for your veterinarian, because what if it's just in the fall? Maybe it's an allergy to something outside in the fall. If it's all the time, did you just move to a new house? Did you tear up your carpet? Like, there are literally a million reasons of, or like what it could be. Even if it's just an allergy, let's say, okay, it is an allergy. There's a gazillion reasons of what kind of allergy it could be. So trying to trial out food when it's an environmental allergy is just like stressing yourself out and the dog out. So we recommend seeing a dermatologist if it's an ongoing issue with a skin problem. The one thing as a groomer that we do is make sure it's not contagious, right? So we have the dog diagnosed prior to coming to the shop if it's a new dog. If it's a dog with an ongoing issue that the client's dealing with and working with their vet, then we have no problem doing it because we know it's not contagious.
Right.
Matting and knotting, I bet you could tell me about that.
Well, matting and knotting is a huge thing in the grooming industry, and I'm pretty sure almost every pet owner and almost every groomer has experienced this with dogs and cats. So owners, the reason matting and knotting tends to even happen in your pets is because the owners tend to miss matting and knotting.
They just brush the top.
Right. They tend to miss it, and they say they brush their dogs.
I believe them. I believe most of them.
And
we know the liars. We know if you're lying to us.
And like most people do actually brush their dog, just not properly.
Right. Yep.
Because if you just buy a brush, buy a comb, You just start brushing your dog thinking, oh, I got this. This is no big deal. It is not as easy as it seems. And what commonly and frequently is the problem with doing that is that you're just brushing the top coat and you're not really like
getting down to the skin where the knots are.
Separating the hair where the knots are.
Where do the knots start?
And they start down near the skin,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where they begin to form. And then also a lot of really, really common spots that there is matting is behind the ears, in their armpits,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in the belly.
Their legs, where they bend.
Yeah, most of their legs.
Everywhere on a dog that's not brushed
everywhere.
right.
But, and it's something that happens very common, and it can affect the pet minorly to severely, depending on the matting. So if the whole entire dog is matted solid, then obviously that dog's probably going to be in a lot of discomfort. It may cause them to overheat, and it can cause them discomfort.
Sores, they'll get sores and everything. Yeah,
it's pretty awful.
So,
and then to go along with that, I mean, this is one of my opinion the least worst, but then you have to get your whole dog shaved bald, and it'll look like a little rat, and you don't want that. So,
we'll have to do really good videos on how to really brush properly.
Right,
You have a video out already on how to brush, but we could do a really, really good one.
Along the lines of shaving the dog, if you're a groomer and the owner does not want their dog shaved bald,
Tell them flat out right when you see them.
You have to tell them, this dog, I cannot brush this dog out. And you can explain to them that if I brush this dog out, that's going to hurt them
Yep.
because it's going to be tearing at their skin. It's going to take forever, and it's not something you
It's not fair to the
literally can do, and it's not fair to the dog. And then also, while you're blow drying, take photos and videos of the mats so you can show them that this dog
I think that's more like, usually we can see them when they walk in how bad they are.
Yeah.
But if we can't, because sometimes it's like the coat can be sneaky and you think, oh, that dog looks totally okay. It's not that long. I don't think it's too knotted. And then we get the dog in the tub and we start blow drying and we're like, uh-oh, what just happened? Because we were wrong. That doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So when you're blow drying, then you can see all the little knots everywhere. And then you can call and do what you said. Then I would do video. But always call before you do anything and just explain exactly what's happening. And our whole thing at our shop for as long as we've been open is if you can't take a conditioning spray, mist the dog with, after the bath and blow dry, after a conditioner's been put on properly, if you can't mist that dog and easily brush that out, not easily like, we're not wimps, but easily that there enough that there's no stress on the pet whatsoever, because we're not going to stress a dog out, and the knots are coming out by brushing, fast, short little bursts like we've shown in the other video. If you do that and they come out, then that's fine. But if you have to struggle with it at all, if it's going to take super, super long, if the dog just doesn't like the brushing, no, that's not fair to the dog. They can't talk. They can't tell us that. My sister has a super sensitive head. When we were kids, her head, everything hurt. When my mom would brush, she'd scream. My mom could tear at my hair and I was fine. Everybody's different, so we don't want to hurt or make a dog feel uncomfortable. Okay, so that is how we do it at our shop. And owners, the best thing we can say for the owners is learn how to brush and comb, check your dog properly, and be understanding. I don't personally know of a single groomer, do you? I don't know of one groomer that wants to shave your dog bald. Do you?
No.
No. I don't know any groomers that are like, let me shave that dog. I don't know any. They're like, oh my gosh, I have to shave the dog. Because we're artists and we want to create beautiful little billboards walking around the neighborhood. Everybody wants their hair cut out there and all that style being shown off. And even in our area, everyone likes short haircuts, but we still give them some style. So nobody wants to shave anybody's dog. Matting and nodding. Now, all right, overall appearance. I'll make this really fast. If the dog comes in and the dog looks depressed, does not act itself, and doesn't seem right, first question is anything going on? Because I don't want to groom a dog that doesn't feel right. Everybody has an off day. Everybody can have a maybe upset stomach, a sickness. It doesn't happen often, it happens on occasion, but a dog just may not feel right. And it could be for any reason in the world. And if you are an owner and you're not a groomer, if your dog's having an off day, I just had a client the other week show up with her dog, but he threw up on the way there. He doesn't get car sick, or he threw up right before he got in the car or something. And he's not a dog that gets car sick, he just wasn't himself. I said, absolutely take him home. Don't even worry about having him here.
Yeah.
No. Would you want to feel sick in your stomach and be like, here, or have me be like, here, come here, let me put your chin here so I can do this to your face, and then you have to stand there while I blow dry you or groom you? Like, no, they can't tell us they don't feel good, right? So if the overall appearance of a dog looks a little depressed, not feeling good, just not right, talk to the owner, and the owners talk to the groomer, and just rebook the appointment if you have to, because we want the pets to feel happy and comfortable and healthy in our environment and not feel, you know, we don't want them to not feel well. So that leaves us with the last, I think we're actually on the last thing. I don't think anybody's with us anymore, do you?
Probably not.
No one's commenting. Okay, so the last thing is, and Gwendolyn's going to go over it, coughing, runny noses, and sneezes.
So this is just like the overall appearance.
Like you can see them
of a
coughing
pet.
and
Yeah, you can
snotting
see
and
them,
sneezing.
doing all that. So
Oh, she was ill-prepared.
yeah.
I'm sorry I threw that on you. Okay, well, you do know that coughing can be part of a collapsed trachea issue, right?
Right, yeah.
That could be. But it's kind of a different noise. It could be. It could be allergies, not common. It's usually skin allergies, but there are dogs that do cough from allergies. And it could be heart failure. That's a very common one that I've seen many, many, many times. A lot of dogs cough that are going into heart failure. So it can also be a contagious virus. So basically, if you know the owner, know the dog, and they're coughing, obviously that's not an issue. And if you're the owner, you know, you'll inform your groomer. But if we don't know and it's a brand new cough, the owner should not be bringing the pet to the shop. Not even a question. And if you're an owner bringing them and they're coughing, you need to inform of the groomer that prior. But if you don't, expect your groomer should turn you away, that you shouldn't take a coughing dog. It needs to get looked into whether, you know, it's an issue that can be contagious or whether it's a heart issue or whatever it is, an allergy. It just needs to be checked and found out. And then runny nose and
Still
sneezing is, oh, Lois, we love you so much. So the runny nose and sneezing can be the same kind of thing. Obviously, that's not heart failure, but it could be for a multitude of reasons. So definitely inform your groomer if you're a pet parent to make sure they're comfortable taking the pet on or not, know what's going on. And if you're the groomer, you can talk to any client. Clients are amazing. We have the best clients in the world, right? They're like all family. It's just awesome. And as long as you're looking out for what's best for their pet, and I think our pet parents would agree,
Yep.
as long as we're looking out for what's best, that's what's best. You know, you can't really say anything else. We're going to do what's best for the pets, So that is everything as far as all of the stuff that we went over. And then next week, I am probably going to seriously consider breaking this up into more than 3.
Yep.
More than 3 sections, or what you want to call it, series, 3 parts. Because next week we have head to tail. And what I have is the head, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the teeth, the neck, the body, the tail, the legs, the feet. So I think what I'll do is I will cut those up into sections because I have
now you want to cut them up into sections.
I know this was so long. I love being here and I could talk all night about stuff about pets and grooming and pet parents, but we need to organize this better, have it detailed the way I want it, because I had it so detailed I had to break it down last minute because it was way too long. It's still way too long and I missed the details I wanted. So next week I am going to do the head to tail, but I might do 3, I'm looking in the wrong camera, I might do 3 sections on part 2. Like part 2 might be 3 sections. Would that be a good idea? I'm going to look and see how many parts of the body, because I got a lot of stuff. I have so much good stuff to tell everyone.
Did you know we argued for like 20 minutes about how many sections we should do? And when she does the live, then she admits that she's going to do more sections, right? All right.
Listen, she's a smart kid. I can admit that you're a smart kid. And she's sometimes right. It's on camera. I said it on camera. Sometimes she's right. All right, guys, I want to thank everyone for hanging in. Well, actually, Lois is the only one, and Summer. We love you guys so much. I hope this helped somebody somewhere. We are going to come back bigger, better, stronger, and more organized and detailed with a shorter video for everybody. We live, we learn, right? That's all we can do, is we live and learn. All right?
All right. See ya.
Goodbye.